Welcome to the Platform Engineering Playbook podcast, where everything you hear is built, reviewed, and improved by AI, by me, and by you, the listener. This show keeps me, and hopefully you, up to speed on the latest in platform engineering, SRE, DevOps, and production engineering. It's a living experiment in how AI can help us track, explain, and discuss the fast-moving world of infrastructure. Every episode is open source. If you've got something to add, correct, or challenge, head to platform-engineering-playbook.com. You'll find all the content and a link to the GitHub repo. Open a pull request, join the conversation, and make the playbook smarter. Let's get into it.
Today we need to talk about something urgent. On November 11th, Kubernetes SIG network dropped a bombshell that affects nearly every production cluster out there.
Ingress NGINX is being retired. March 2026. After that date, no releases, no bug fixes, no security patches.
And this isn't some obscure component. This is the de facto standard Ingress controller. If you're running Kubernetes with internet-facing services, you're probably running Ingress NGINX.
So we've got about 4 months to migrate. That's not a lot of time for something handling all your external traffic routing.
Let's unpack what's actually happening here, because the story behind this retirement is almost as important as the migration itself.
Yeah, this didn't come out of nowhere. The announcement from SIG Network and the Security Response Committee reveals something systemic.
Wait, the Security Response Committee is involved. That's not a good sign.
It's not. And here's the part that surprised me. For years, Ingress NGINX has only had 1 or 2 people doing development work on their own time, after work hours, weekends.
1 or 2 maintainers for what's arguably the most critical traffic component in most Kubernetes deployments.
That's the unsustainable open source reality. The announcement says SIG Network and the Security Response Committee exhausted their efforts to find additional support. They couldn't find people to help maintain it.
Didn't they announce a replacement project last year, InGate or something?
They did. The maintainers announced plans to wind down Ingress NGINX and develop InGate as a replacement, together with the Gateway API community. But even that announcement failed to generate help.
So InGate never got off the ground.
Never progressed far enough to be a viable replacement. It's also being retired. The whole thing just didn't work.
That's genuinely concerning. So what happens after March 2026?
Your existing deployments keep running. The installation artifacts stay available, but no new releases, no bug fixes, and critically, no security patches.
And NGINX, the underlying proxy, gets CVEs fairly regularly.
Exactly. So if a vulnerability is discovered after March 2026, it stays unpatched forever. And we're talking about your internet-facing edge router here. That's a prime attack target.
CVE 2025-1974 was already a wake-up call on that front.
Right. It demonstrated the pattern. And here's the thing. Even your dev and staging environments become risk vectors. They often contain sensitive data or provide paths into production. So we'll just keep running it isn't really an option for any serious production environment.
Not if you care about security posture. The announcement explicitly recommends migrating to Gateway API or another Ingress controller immediately.
Okay, let's talk options. What are platform teams actually choosing?
The main paths are Gateway API, which is the recommended strategic choice, or alternative Ingress controllers if you want something more familiar.
Let's start with Gateway API, since that's the official recommendation.
So Gateway API isn't just Ingress version 2. It's a complete redesign of how Kubernetes handles traffic routing. Different philosophy, different resource model.
What's actually different about it?
A few fundamental things. First, it's protocol agnostic. Ingress only really handled HTTP and HTTPS well. Everything else, gRPC, TCP, UDP, required vendor-specific annotations or workarounds.
The annotation sprawl problem.
Exactly. Gateway API has native support for HTTP, gRPC, TCP, UDP. No annotations needed for basic traffic types.
What else?
Role-based resource model. Instead of one Ingress resource doing everything, you have gateway resources that infrastructure teams manage and route resources, HTTP route, gRPC route, TCP route, that application teams manage.
So there's a cleaner separation of concerns.
Right. And it has built-in support for things like traffic splitting, canary deployments, blue-green deployments, stuff that required controller-specific annotations in Ingress.
Who's actually implementing Gateway API? Which controllers support it?
Multiple mature implementations now. Envoy Gateway, which is the reference implementation, Cilium's Gateway API support, Kong Gateway, Traefik is popular, good Kubernetes integration, and, interestingly, NGINX Gateway Fabric. That's NGINX's own Gateway API implementation.
So you could stay in the NGINX ecosystem, but move to Gateway API.
You could. Though if you're migrating anyway, the question becomes, do you want to go to a strategic destination or just a halfway point?
What do you mean?
Gateway API's big advantage is portability. The spec is standardized. If you're using HTTP route with Envoy Gateway today, you can switch to Cilium's implementation tomorrow without rewriting your configs.
Unlike Ingress, where you'd have controller-specific annotations everywhere.
Exactly. The annotation sprawl meant you were locked to your controller. Gateway API solves that by putting capabilities in the spec instead of annotations.
Okay, so what about teams that don't want to make the Gateway API leap? What are the alternatives?
NGINX Gateway Fabric is the closest to what people know. Similar mental model. Kong Gateway if you need enterprise support and a lot of features. Traefik is popular, good Kubernetes integration. Cilium if you want the eBPF-based approach. But let's be real, though. What makes migration actually hard? Because I'm guessing it's not as simple as running a conversion tool.
It's not. There's a tool called Ingress to Gateway that helps scaffold the migration, but it's a scaffold, not a complete solution.
What breaks?
Annotations. Ingress NGINX allowed massive customization through annotations and snippets. Custom header manipulation, rate limiting, specific NGINX directives. Gateway API is stricter by design.
So all those custom snippets teams have accumulated over the years
Need to be translated. And they don't map one-to-one. Some capabilities require different approaches in Gateway API. Some might need custom policies or filters depending on your controller.
What about regex behavior?
Different. NGINX regex versus Gateway API's stricter matching. You need to validate that your routing rules actually match the same traffic.
SSL termination?
Needs explicit validation. Same with header propagation. The semantics are similar, but not identical, so you have to test,
And presumably there's a DNS cutover at some point.
which can cause disruption if not planned carefully. You want a parallel running period where both Ingress and Gateway are active, gradually shifting traffic.
All right, let's give people a framework. How should teams actually approach this?
I'd break it into 4 phases over roughly 4 months with some buffer before March.
Phase 1?
Assessment, weeks 1 and 2. Inventory all your Ingress resources across all clusters. Document every custom annotation and snippet. Identify your highest risk services, internet-facing, business-critical, and choose your target controller.
What factors for choosing the controller?
If you want maximum strategic investment in portability, Envoy Gateway or Cilium Gateway API. If you want minimal mental model change, NGINX Gateway Fabric. If you need enterprise support contracts, Kong or Traefik Enterprise.
Phase 2?
Assessment, weeks 1 and 2. Inventory all your Ingress resources across all clusters. Document every custom annotation and snippet. Identify your highest risk services, internet-facing, business-critical, and choose your target controller.
Phase 2?
Pilot, weeks 3 and 4. Deploy your chosen Gateway API controller on non-production. Migrate one simple service using Ingress to Gateway as a starting point. Then manually translate your complex annotations. Validate SSL, headers, routing behavior.
Simple service first makes sense. Don't start with your most complex routing.
Right. Get comfortable with the resource model, understand the gaps, then tackle the hard stuff.
Phase 3?
Staging migration, month 2. Migrate your entire staging environment. Run parallel Ingress and Gateway for validation, performance and load testing, and critically, develop your runbooks for production.
Because you want the team comfortable with troubleshooting before it matters.
Exactly. You want people who've seen the failure modes before they're handling them at 2 a.m.
And phase 4 is production.
Month 3, start with lowest risk production services. Gradual traffic shift, 10%, then 50, then 100. Keep Ingress as a fallback during the transition. Monitor for routing anomalies. Then once you're confident, month 4, cleanup. Remove the old Ingress controllers, archive the manifests, update documentation.
That puts you done before March with some buffer.
Which you need because something will take longer than expected. It always does.
What should people do this week, like immediately?
3 things. First, read the official announcement. It's at kubernetes.io/blog November 11th. Understand what's actually happening and the timeline.
Second,
Run kubectl get ingress-A. See how many ingress resources you actually have across all namespaces. That's your scope.
and third,
Document your most complex ingress resources, the ones with lots of annotations, custom snippets, regex routing. Those are your migration risks.
I want to reframe this a bit because yes, this is urgent and yes, it's work, but there's an upside here.
Gateway API is genuinely better. This isn't replacing something good with something equivalent. The resource model is cleaner. The portability is real. The built-in capabilities for traffic management are more sophisticated.
So you're not just replacing a deprecated controller.
You're upgrading your entire traffic management story. The annotation sprawl problem goes away. The controller lock-in goes away. You get a more sustainable model backed by a real community and multiple implementations.
The irony being that Ingress NGINX failed partly because the ecosystem couldn't sustain one controller, and Gateway API succeeds because it supports many.
Right. Instead of one project needing maintainers, you have multiple implementations competing and innovating on a standard spec.
Practical takeaway?
Start your assessment this week. 4 months is not a lot of time for something this foundational. Get your inventory, pick your controller, start your pilot. Don't wait for January to realize you have 200 complex ingress resources to migrate.
And the March deadline is real. No security patches after that means any CVE stays open forever.
Which, for internet-facing infrastructure, is an unacceptable risk profile. This isn't optional modernization, it's required security hygiene.
Migration now, not later.
Exactly. The clock is ticking.
That's it for this episode of the Platform Engineering Playbook podcast. Every topic, transcript, and summary you just heard lives out in the open at platform-engineering-playbook.com, where anyone can suggest updates or add insights through GitHub. If you've got thoughts, fixes, or new ideas, open a PR. And if you enjoyed the episode, rate us on your favorite podcast platform. We're always shooting for 5 stars. While you're there, give the project a star on GitHub. It helps others find and contribute to the Platform Engineering Playbook. This podcast is generated by AI, reviewed by AI, me and you, a community of engineers keeping our craft sharp. Thanks for listening, and see you next time inside the Platform Engineering Playbook.